We're recording. Hey, Rusty.
What's up, Tim?
Man, how are things going in Spain? Tell our friends exactly where you are, and then tell us how you guys' family are doing in the middle of this pandemic.
Yeah, so we're in southern Spain in a city called Seville. So we've been here for about 9 years, and we actually left straight from Roxborough. I was serving there at a church called Somerset, and that church sent us out here to Spain. So we've been serving here ever since. And so with the pandemic, it's really just been a crazy time for our family. Our family is a family probably like most families where our kids are in school most days. So we have 4 kids. All 4 of them are in school. And during that time, it gives us a chance to kind of breathe, kind of do ministry, sermon prep, all the things that we do in ministry. And now our family, we're in the 4th week right now of a total lockdown. Now, there is a difference. I've been talking to some people, and you can tell me on North Carolina, but I know in most places in the U.S., they consider they're on lockdown now, which means they can't work. But it seems like a lot of people are still going to parks, and they're still running around town and kind of doing their own thing still. Is that similar to there in North Carolina?
It's similar. They want people with non-essential jobs to shelter in place, and they want people to basically stay with their household unit, stay at home, and if you do go out, just go out to the fresh air with your household unit.
Okay. So for us here, we're on our 4th week of legal lockdown, which means if we get caught outside of the house, going anywhere except for the grocery store or the pharmacy, you will literally get a 3,000 euro fine, which is $3,500 fine, and maybe even jail time, depending on how you react to it. So that means that Jennifer or I, one of us can go out of the house to do this, not both of us, only one. And the kids have not been out of the house. This is the 4th week. So they legally can never leave the house. And in North Carolina, whenever I was there in Roxborough, it wouldn't be too bad because there I lived on, like a lot of people do in Roxborough, I lived on almost 3 acres. So a lot of people live on a ½ acre or more. Here I live in a small townhouse. As you can see, the only place I can get away right now is my kids' room with bunk beds. So it's very small living quarters. And we have a yard that's the size of 15, probably like 10 by 15 square foot is our yard. So 4 kids locked up, and we're in our 4th week. So that's kind of what we're living in right now. So that's for us, we've been praying a whole lot because it's difficult to be around family that much and that close to quarters all the time. And the kids obviously are getting stir crazy because they can't leave. So one thing we've been doing, and I think this is something that may happen in the States here really soon, because we've been on total lockdown here in Italy for about 4 weeks. And we're just now seeing things begin to peak, just now. And in the US, I see you guys at the very beginning stages. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what'll happen. Right. But with everything still, kind of life still going on semi-usual, I'm afraid that things are going to get worse there. So I just think it's good to prepare right now that you could end up in the same situation, total lockdown. So some things that we're doing to survive this as a family is we're doing an hour of exercise every day as a family. So I've got the kids doing exercise because you and I both know if you have 4 kids in a house and they're not using the energy, kids are going to use their energy one way or the other, for good or for bad. So I'm trying to direct their energy in the right way. We're eating healthy. We're getting in the Word every day together as a family. And so I feel like God's really brought us together during this time as well. I mean, obviously we're forced to be together. So I feel like it's been a blessing too. I feel like God's keeping us semi-content. Obviously there's been struggles and there's been more arguments, but really we've been praying that our kids will have patience with us and that we'll have patience with them as well.
Yeah. Hey, if you're willing, so there in southern Spain, how did you see this thing start to unfold in your city there?
Well, everything basically revolves in Europe all around football, soccer. So what happened was Italy, there was a burst of the coronavirus going on. Nobody realized how bad it was, and Italy just kept going forward. And so they had a big soccer match between them and Spain in northern Italy. And so what happened was 3,000 Spaniards went there. They came back, and really just infused the whole thing here and blew it up. And from that point on, so we went from life as totally normal to a total lockdown all of a sudden. So it wasn't a gradual thing like we're seeing in the States and other places. It was life as normal. And all of a sudden they said lockdown 100%.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been to Europe, but my experience in Europe, a lot of people enjoy a very communal, nightlife, hanging out, eating out together, hanging out outside. Is it like that where you are in Spain?
Yeah, in Spain, it was weird because Roxborough, coming from the Midwest, going to Roxborough in the South, I mean, Roxborough is an open place. I mean, people love to be around others. Spain makes Roxborough seem like they don't even like to be out in the street. So they
Wow.
say here in Spain, vive en la calle, we live in the street. So the people
Mm,
are always out. And so that's what we're seeing now is we're seeing a lot of depression setting in
wow.
because people are used to being around so many people all the time. And now you're stuck and you cannot get out. So it's really been some struggles with people here.
Mm. I know that at least opens the door for a ministry of encouragement, but man, it's hard to encourage people over and over again if they keep sitting in the cycle of what's discouraging them,
Mm-hmm.
staying at home. I mean, and so, wow. What are you seeing as far as, are your hospitals handling this well? Are they overwhelmed? What's it like for people who are hospitalized because of this sickness?
Well, I've talked to some of my friends who are in the medical industry, doctors and things, and at this point they're just really discouraged. They asked me to
Wow.
pray specifically and have you guys pray for them. They said that
Mm,
one thing that's kind of paralyzing a lot of them is they're here to serve. They love people and they're going to keep doing their job, but they're paralyzed by fear. The fear that not only can they get it, but now they're going to bring it back and infect their families too. So it's a very scary thing. And another thing they said is there's a lot of disunity now, which is normal because as you and I know, working with teams, you and I have always worked really close with ministry teams. When you have a very, very high stress situation, you're going to start having disunity. And
mm,
so they asked me, they said, if you could just pray that God would help us stay unified, because the only way we're going to conquer this as medical professionals is if we stay unified together. So in Spain, the last stat I saw a week ago, there were 15,000 sick healthcare workers in Spain.
wow.
So out of all the people that are sick right now with coronavirus, 14% of them that are sick right now are healthcare workers. So they're out there sacrificing their lives for us, and a lot of them are getting sick, and a lot of them are really passing away as well.
Wow. Man, I know your heart. You would just love to get out there among the people, and I mean, not in a. I know you're not a proud and ignorant and foolhardy guy, but you'd love to just get out there and lay your hands on them and pray for them and do anything you could. Are they letting people into the hospitals, visiting family, ministers? How's that going?
Yeah, right now the saddest part, and I think I've seen it starting to happen in the U.S. as well now, where if once you get sick with coronavirus, especially here, and I've seen it in the US, that you start getting segregated off. So the majority of people are dying all by themselves. So their
Wow.
families are stuck in their house. They cannot come to the hospital. They're not allowed to legally come in. So the person that they love the most is sitting in the hospital dying all alone. So my heart's desire was to get into the hospital, not only just to preach the gospel, but also just to hold somebody's hand, to be able to speak to them, to let them have somebody they can speak to. But at this point, the government's not allowing any kind of pastors or anybody that's not a medical professional inside. And they're doing that to really just protect, obviously, the whole
Yeah.
community. So
Yeah.
at this point, we can't get in at all. So I'm trying to get into nursing homes. At this point, the door's still been closed. So we're just trying to do anything we can to minister to people. But we also, as ministers of the gospel, we want to make sure that we're doing things the right way. I don't want to do
Right.
anything that's going to upset the police or the medical professionals. I want to make sure to do things with their blessing, not against their blessing.
Right. I just know you. I know you want to minister to people, and at the same time, you want to do it the right way. My heart just goes out to you. I've been sharing a quote. I heard Ben Francis, pastor at Teresa Baptist Church, share it about how Martin Luther sort of set the parameters of his ministry during the Black Plague, and it's really instructive. You know, he said, I'm willing to go anywhere that I can be helpful, and I'm willing to stay away from anywhere that I'll be hurtful. That's the way I've been summarizing it. And it's just tough because I did ministry with you for a long time. We just want to lay our hands on people and love on them. And so, man, I'm sure you can appreciate the sentiment behind this. I hope I do not know what you're experiencing there. I've really been praying that we'll take serious the health recommendations, the word we're getting from other places, and we'll move cautiously and wisely and do all those things that'll prevent a widespread here. But that, remains to be seen for us yet. What are some ways that you have been finding to serve? I know if memory serves me correct, I saw on social media you were able to do some grocery shopping for some people or something like that. And are you like us, utilizing streaming and stuff to disciple people?
Yeah, so we're making sure, like I said, to get permission from, and I encourage you guys to do the same, especially as lockdowns begin to happen. Make sure to check with your local police department, get permission first. We don't want to ask forgiveness later. We don't want to end up getting, because it's one thing I've heard some people say, well, we're going to keep meeting at our church regardless because the government's not going to tell us that we can't meet. And I want to encourage us to also realize we need to be smart, because if we're meeting regardless, God, especially as pastors, we're shepherds, and our job as shepherds is to protect people. And if we're bringing all these vulnerable people in that we're called to protect, and yet we send them home with a virus and they begin to die, that's on us. So I want to encourage us, make sure to listen to what the government says. So for us, we got permission from the government to do some food delivery. There's people inside of our churches that are not getting any government assistance, and they literally want to work, but they can't unless you're very essential here, unless you're really a medical worker, a policeman, very, very essential. Nobody's working.
Wow.
So we're delivering food to people that really just don't have any at all inside of our church. Another thing, just like you guys are seeing all over the States now, we're doing online services. And one thing that's really convicting for us is we were doing like a once a month prayer time at our church. Things are just so busy. It's very hard to get people together to really pray. But God has used this time, at least in our church, to call us to be praying once a week. And now we're doing it online. And we're seeing our people come and pray together. So that's been really, really good. And even our ministry team that I have, we've been praying once a week, getting together just to pray, not talk about ministry. So that's been really good. Also, another thing that I would encourage you guys is think, there's so many people right now, everybody's on social media. And because a lot of people aren't working, so they're on their computers all day long. How can we use that to reach people with the gospel? So I have, between Jen and I, we have a list of around 50 people that are lost here in Spain, our friends that just don't know Jesus yet, and that we send devotions to 3 or 4 times a week, just things that God's laid on our heart or that other people have sent to us. And we're just showing that gospel. So what we did is we sent it out to, I think, around 300 different of our contacts.
Wow.
And we sent out a reflection, and we said, if you'd like to receive more of these on a weekly, couple times a week, please respond with a thumbs up. And we received 50 responses saying yes. So now they've given us the opportunity and the right to speak into their lives by sending them things. So that's something that's been really, really neat. And as things begin to lock down more in the States, people are going to get really lonely. So one thing we're doing here is we're also encouraging our church to be calling people and talking to them on the phone, because some of us are trapped in houses, or all of us are. And the only people we may talk to are our kids. And then there's some people that are stuck all by themselves.
Wow.
So think about the singles or the senior adults. They don't have anybody. So some people just need somebody to listen to them and talk with them.
Yeah, my mom is in that category. She has a caregiver, and we've been kind of limiting who else has exposure to her. And she just made that comment. She's like, what would I do if I didn't have this caregiver? Well, she has to have one physically, but I knew what she was saying. She needed one, emotionally as well. And so we might have to get really creative in how we become caregivers. I have a friend that I work with here that posted this thing on the internet that says, check on us huggers, we're not okay. And I just thought, you know, like I'm not necessarily a hugger. I'm like, well, that's a good point. I better check on the huggers. And because it's just real, man. We got to find creative ways to care for each other right now. Just real. How can we be praying? I want to ask you, I want you to give me prayer requests for 3 specific areas, okay? How can we be praying for you and your family? How can we be praying for the team? And if you want to talk about your team a little bit there in Seville, how can we be praying for your team? And how can we be praying for the churches God's sent you to oversee, establish and oversee there?
All right. Yeah, for our family, really just for peace in the midst of the storm. You know, our kids have been very resilient. They've been doing really great. But just pray for us because we are now homeschool parents but didn't sign up for it. So, you know, just in the midst of, like I said, during our school time, that 7-hour window, that was our time for Jen and I to really get things done, to do ministry prep. And now we're doing homeschooling, but ministry still continues. And we find that we even have more ministry now because we have to record things and we're learning new technology and everything's, I don't know about you, but it's more complicated than what it was.
Yeah, man, I'm almost 49. I'm almost 49. It is definitely more complicated.
So for us, I feel like ministry's harder because now we're doing 2 things. Now I'm a teacher and a pastor. So if you can pray for us that God will just continue to give us peace in this and just perseverance. One thing for you guys to also be thinking about is they first put us on a restriction for 2 weeks. And I think it was similar to in the US. You know, they're just saying 2 weeks. But that's because the government honestly doesn't want to tell you 2 or 3 months at the very beginning because people freak out. So just be prepared. My thing is I always tell people, you know, be prepared that you could be in this situation for a while. So just allow God to work in you, to speak to you, and just get ready. Just put it in neutral and realize, man, I could be here for a while. Let me make the best of the situation.
Praise
so
God.
I'm telling my team, let's not start vegging out on Netflix and everything else. Let's make sure that we're figuring out how can I do ministry and how can I love on people in this situation? Because I could be here for 3 or 4 months. So for our family, that would be one thing. For our team, we have an awesome team now, an IMB team. We have a couple that they have 3 kids. You guys can be praying for them. They are living in like a very probably 800 square foot house with no patio and no yard at all. And they have 3 kids. So their situation's much worse than my situation. And then we have 2 singles on the team. And I just can't imagine being a single and being stuck in your house literally for, this is 4 weeks now with nobody to talk to. And one of my teammates said, Rusty, I haven't touched anybody in 4 weeks. So it hasn't had physical touch in 4 weeks. So like you said, for huggers, even if you're not a hugger, that's tough. So for our team, that would be huge. For our church as well, our church, we've actually been seeing growth through this. So since we're looked upon here in Spain, like we look at in the US, Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons, since we're not Catholic, we're looked upon as those guys, somebody different, like a cult. So for us, we've had a lot of people who would never step foot in our church because then they get branded, but yet they've been joining our church services online because you're able to do it without anybody knowing you're involved. So, right. And even our Bible studies, we've been having people join. So right. Our Bible studies, our men's and women's Bible studies have actually increased. We have more people attending our Bible study now than we did before when we were doing it in person. So God's doing some really cool stuff. So you can be praying for our church in that area. And I think the biggest prayer request for us ministry-wise, and the same thing I think our churches in the U.S. need to be praying for themselves, is you and I both are known for being bold. And we're going to be out there, and if we see somebody sitting on a bench at the mall, we're going to sit down next to them, we're going to begin to talk with them. But one thing that I'm not good at, and I think most of us struggle in, is creative boldness. So one thing I'm praying for our team and for our churches, that we can be creatively bold. You know, we're no longer able to go on the streets. We're no longer able to walk up to people and start talking to them. Even if you could, people don't want to talk to you right now because they're trying to keep their distance. So just being creatively bold, how can I use all these different platforms to get the gospel to people right now?
Amen. Rusty, you know, you're one of those people that appreciate this story. I saw a young woman, probably like, I don't know, 25 maybe. Her car was broken down earlier, and I just wanted to, get out and, work on the car, find out what's going on. But I'm having to think like, wait a minute, don't get out. It might make her uncomfortable. So I rolled down the window from some distance, and I said, can I help you? And she says, my granddad's on the way. Right. But, ordinarily what you'd like to do is just say, hey, let me help you. And I always love those opportunities because you wind up sharing, and people are open because you're helping them. But I had to stop because it was the right thing to do, and I had to not get out, and I had to, stay back. So I like that phrase. I'm going to steal that, creative boldness. I like that.
Because like you said, Tim, you by jumping out of the car, you thought I'm helping her, but really you would actually be startling the woman, or you could be. And that's the thing now. We have to be careful that, what we normally do in life may be insulting to people or may actually scare people right now. So we have to just be creatively bold in how we're going to approach people and make sure that we always want to make sure that other people feel safe.
That's right.
And a lot of the time people aren't feeling safe right now. And that's why I think we need to be spreading hope as well, because there's a lot of hopelessness going on.
Right.
A lot of people have built, even in the South, there's a lot of religious people, even though they go to church every Sunday, they've kind of built their security on having a good job, having good schools, having all this system in place, and all that stuff has fallen apart now. They can't go to work, their kids can't go to school, and kids aren't able to graduate, they're not going to prom. I mean, all their dreams, what they consider their dreams, are shattered. So really, if you don't have true hope in Christ right now, you really have nothing.
That's right. I think it's, you know me. I don't mean this harsh. Somebody who doesn't know us may think I mean it harsh. It's sort of difficult sometimes to find out something you were taken for granted and you were not even really given a lot of thought to. It's difficult to discover that thing was an idol to you, and then it gets crushed, whether it's food security, the ability to move around freely, your leisure choices, and all of a sudden, that's gone, this is challenged. And you feel, like this inward longing. And so, again, I don't mean it to sound harsh, but some people are finding out they had established their life around sinking sand. And I'm not coming down on any of those people. I've been there personally, and it makes me actually more compassionate. Say, wow, but now you're in a perfect position to find that rock that you can, plant your life on, and it won't move. Any other words of encouragement you have for us from the other side? I mean, you're on the other side of this. You've been seeing for some weeks now how difficult this thing can get. Any words of encouragement or exhortation to us?
Yeah, just encourage you guys. Take it seriously. It was a joke here at one time, and now we're seeing craziness happen. And the percentage of people that are sick is very high, and it's people of all age groups. And I don't know if you guys have seen in the news, but in Madrid, Spain, it was so bad they didn't have time to bury people, they didn't have time to cremate people, so they used a local ice rink, and they're throwing dead corpses in the ice rink at this point because there's no room. So realize this isn't to scare anybody. This is to let people know this is a serious thing. So make sure, and if you're young, all of our young people, I've heard a lot of our young people on Facebook in the US say, well, I'm young and it won't bother me. That may be true. You may not get sick, and you may never end up with any kind of issue from it, but you're going to be a carrier, which means your grandma or your grandpa may end up in the hospital all by themselves because you chose to go to Burger King or to go running around on your own. So just be careful. My thing is, don't live in fear, but also be wise and realize it's not about your life that you're protecting. It's about protecting others as well, and looking to protect others, and also just be looking for that hope right now. For people who don't have true hope in Christ, now's the time to really evaluate, where is my hope?
Rusty, man, I totally appreciate you. I hope you knew that before we had this video. I always love it when you're back home in the States. I always love to see you face to face. I still ride by where you used to live on Young's Chapel Church Road. And I ride by there on the way to the grocery store a lot. And I'll think about you every time I go by there. So, man, you're always close to my mind and regular in my prayers. Thank you for your work for the gospel and the International Mission Board. I know things are crazy there, so I really thank you for taking this time out and sharing with me and allowing me to record this, share with others.
Well, we love you guys, and I love Roxborough. And next year I'll be back for a few months, so I'm looking forward to visiting you guys and My Life Matters and East Rock.
Oh yeah, man. You know, when you come, you got to drop the word to us, brother.
And then we got to go out for some Mexican as well.
Yeah, and you know, you got to have some counseling sessions with Michael Tuck while you're here. Always, just go ahead and put that on the calendar.
We'll see what I can do.
Hey, love you, brother.
I love you.
All right, man. All right, let's see.